Okay, this is the December 6th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Groton Conservation Commission. My name is Bruce Lofgren from the Office of Planning and Development Services. The chair tonight is Larry Dunn. If any members of the public would like to speak during public communications, they can do so by raising their virtual hand, and we will call on them one at a time. Yeah, Larry, you can call roll and start the meeting whenever you're ready.
All right, so we'll do the roll call. Michelle?
Michelle Fitzpatrick, secretary.
Yeah, Larry Dunn, chair. Kristen?
Kristen Destante, member.
Ray?
Ray Rafferty, vice chair.
And that's it. And so we're going to have to move things along tonight because I think we only got till 6:30. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I need to leave at 6:30.
All right. Well, I was planning on a fairly short meeting anyway. So without further ado, let's get into approval of meetings. I know there's been some comments put in, Bruce, that you got.
From who? From Tom?
I thought Tom provided some input and thought Karen provided some input as well.
I didn't see any input from Karen on the minutes. I did see Tom's though, and sent that along, but I can read it out if you guys would like. Let me just get it up.
Yep. Why don't you do that and then see if anyone else has any other comments.
Okay.
Well, does anybody else have any comment on the while we're waiting, Bray?
Yes, I have a comment on page 4 of, I guess, the pamphlet that came out. Anyway, 4.9, National Estuarine Research Reserve Input Status. My comment is that I did not send 2 letters on behalf of the commission. I sent 1 letter on behalf of the commission to support NERR, but Tom Olson at the public hearing that they had in October, this past October, he made an oral support statement also for the Conservation Commission at that time.
All right, so let's we'll adjust that to 1 letter from Bray, that's how I remember it as well. All right, did you find yours, Bruce, the comments?
No, I'm having a hard time finding them actually, but I do remember, Ray, what you just mentioned, that was one of Tom's comments as well.
Kristen, you had your hand up.
I had left that meeting last time early because I was in Paris. It was midnight and my phone ran out of charge. So I was not there to end the closing of the meeting, but you had me as voting to close. And I'm not sure exactly what time I left or whatever votes took place after I left, but I didn't vote on any of those. So I don't know whether you put abstain or what you put. What should be there, I mean.
If so, you abstained on the vote, or you weren't present when the vote was taken?
No, I had left at some point and before the meeting was over.
Yeah, I think the minutes need to say what time you left.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
should.
And it does say what time I left, but so anything after that, I did not vote on. So just a technicality.
I think I might have actually put in there what time you left, but I think you
Yeah,
maybe.
you did. You put what time I left.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Item number 4-2 at the bottom of it, just before 4-3.
Yeah, it's 6:45. Yep.
All right, so we will, so I can remove you, Kristen, from the votes after you left.
Yeah, exactly.
I have Tom's comments up. On page 2, item 4.2, the 3rd paragraph, the last line, accusation should be acquisition. And then the same thing that Bray said about the letter. And then the last thing, page 4, item 411, the last line should be continued at their next meeting on 2 December. He says 2022, but I think he means 2021. 'Cause they met last Thursday.
Yeah, I do know that the greenways, that it is gonna be next year for the greenways.
Yeah, but the meeting was Tuesday, it was, I mean, so December 2nd, 2021, not next December. So he just had a typo in his comment.
It was last Thursday, so that does make sense.
Yeah.
It's in
All right.
December.
Just looking at the application form.
Need a motion to accept the minutes as they stand with the adjustments?
Yep. Is there
I'll
a
second.
motion to accept it with the adjustments discussed? So there's a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The minimum unanimous we could have. All right, let me go back to. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is do the index. Let me share my screen.
Oh, but Larry, do you want to just for the record do public communications first? We don't have anybody, but
There's nobody there, so.
okay. Oh,
So for the
Right.
record, there is none, right?
For the record, there's no public communications.
thank you.
Okay. All right, can you guys see this?
Mhm.
Okay, so we're trying to keep this as a running commentary. Let me get down to the legend. So the green is what we completed last time. The yellow is actions, and we're going to work on today. So Boulder Heights. Oh, why did that get repeated? Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna
God.
say, you have a lot of stuff repeated there.
No, that got screwed up. Oh, man. All right, let me go find 11.2. All right, I thought I had the right one up. Local documents, parcels. Parcels. Darn, I don't even know how that happened. Because the last time I looked at it, it was all fine. Give me one more second here.
I don't understand your Birch Plain Creek total acreage, what that means.
No, that's all, it's all screwed up. I think it got corrupted.
Maybe we should move to another agenda item and you can like fix that later. or
Oh,
something.
I see why. So Tom sent me a corrupted file. So I would have to go. All right, so we're gonna go through the ones anyway. So let me go fix that. I apologize. Let's see, so index, I have to fix that. All right. So let's get into it. That was gonna be the summary. We're gonna get into it anyway. So let me go to this, get rid of this. Stop share. All right, so the first one is Boulder Heights. Now, we had 3 that were available and the commission wanted extra time to look at it. So there's no really new information on those 3. And I guess the question is, well, we'll just go through each one. For discussions on Boulder Heights, is there any changes, inputs, or questions on that one?
I have a statement about it.
Okay,
Additional information that I would suggest might go into Tom's description. One is that the Boulder Heights property goes behind the ledges, and it wedges itself between between the Ledges apartment complex and 95. And there's some very steep outcrops, ledge that's there that is quite a challenge to get up on top of. Whereas it seemed like that he was talking about his trail or his property walk ended where the stream went through the property, and anything to the west, it appears that's what he was discussing, and he didn't say anything to the right of it. So I'd like to add a little bit more information to the right of the stream that runs from I-95 through the property, and eventually it's actually been, someone recently said that it's the headwaters for Birch Plain Creek, which we've been talking about, and as also part of our work here. So it's the one person from GOSA described this particular property as actually the headwaters for Birch Plain Creek.
That's interesting.
So Bray, would you then provide a paragraph or a few sentences that would provide that update?
I can. I just want to also mention about, I don't know if anybody's ever gone to the Ledges property, the apartment property. A few years ago, we had a friend of ours who was renting at the time at the Ledges apartment, and he mentioned about this trail, open space trail, that runs on the perimeter of the Ledges property. And you pick it up sort of at the bottom of the hill when you first go into the Ledges property. And it's a wooded trail that runs around a good part of the complex up to the top where the top unit is. And it leaves the trail system is on their property. It's on the fringe of their property of the apartment complex. The one at the top ends right at the face of the cliff because there's really no safe way to get up on it and then down further around. But one thought is that it might be possible at some time, there was a discussion a few years ago of, with the Boulder Heights property, the trail that goes through there might possibly tie in and share Ledges Trail that could then link between Drostick Drive and then going back over to the entrance to the Boulder Heights property. There might be a possible linkage there. And I just want to put that on the table also.
All right, well, I think there's two different things here. One is a improved description of the property. And if you provide that updated text, then we can get it in there. Secondly is a proposal to link other properties. I think would be a separate topic that we could, either put on the agenda or put it up for discussion on the agenda. I don't want to confuse the stewardship plan of a piece of a parcel that we own with a future plan on a parcel that we don't own. And I've seen that cliff. I mean, you're right. That's an awful tough drop down there in back of the complex. Does anyone else have any other comments on this particular one? All right, I would ask for a motion that would accept and then publish the Boulder Heights with the changes that Bray mentioned regarding the description of the property on the west side of the property. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? We only have 4 people, okay. All right, so that's 4, all right, so if Bray would get that, then we could then do the update and then I could publish it on the website. All right. The second one is, well, I guess in here is South Road,
Mhm.
which is a draft. And again, I don't think there's a lot of changes here.
Can you put that up on the screen, Larry?
Oh, okay, hold on. Share screen.
Better.
Right.
This is the one with all those little ponds. It's really funny, about a week or so after we talked about this at the meeting, friends of mine talked about going fishing in those little ponds there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and didn't we say you shouldn't do that? Because it's,
Well, they throw them back, so.
okay. Let's see. All right, so and I know we had discussions on it, and so were there any modifications, changes, updates, or comments on this plan from the last meeting?
The only thing is that I think the entranceway is going to be maintained at this point because it's a sewer easement right away for at least a portion of that property. It comes across the street from the boat launch area.
Whoops, let me go. So let me bring that up here. So where,
Okay, you see where the right there where the ball field is,
right,
along the southern parallel with the railroad. From there runs up and then goes across into right into that property and go down to about as far as the first pond. And then it goes underneath Amtrak. And then it proceeds to go down towards South Road, I believe, something like that. And on over to the Thames River.
Wow.
yeah,
That's
well,
that's the discharge pipe for.
right. Right, we
sewer
talked about
treatment
that
plant.
last time, yeah.
Right.
So so what is is there a recommendation in that? I know we talked about that item. You think that's should be in the description? Is that where you're going?
I think that I would keep it more as our own information in-house. Because the question I have is that there are some properties that are open space in certain locations in the town, and one of the reasons the town is hanging on to them is because they're sewer easements that run through the woods. There's one that's behind the Cutler School, not Cutler School anymore, the Mystic River Magnet School, I guess.
The magnet school, yeah.
Right, used to be Cutler. There's one that's there that goes up the top of Route 1 and comes on down through that particular area over on the way over to, well, eventually it gets to over by Midway Oval somehow through pump stations. So my point is, I don't understand at this point, does Public Works actually, do they monitor the growth of vegetation along these right of ways? Or do they keep them open, but they're sort of like power lines that run through property? They allow the trees to grow up to certain heights and that's it.
Yeah, well, my
I don't know.
observation is they don't do anything. Stuff grows.
That's what it appears to be at this point. But I've never heard them say, yeah, we do nothing.
Oh, there's one on my property in the back. They don't do anything. I mean, I've been here 20 years. Oh, well, they did come up a couple of times before things grew, but there is no maintenance at all.
Right.
So the stuff's underground, and I guess until something happens, they're not spending any time or energy. So,
Right.
all right, so so you're not recommending a change to the document per se, but there's information that, that you want the commission to know, and we did discuss that last week as well. So having said that, is there a motion to accept this as written? Bruce?
Well, I just wanted to report back at the last meeting, you had asked me to look in to see if anyone was monitoring the water quality or pollution levels of those ponds, and I did ask around, and we haven't been doing that, but I could be wrong about this, but I believe at the last meeting someone suggested that these ponds were created to retain some kind of pollutant or hold back something. And from what I saw, I actually did a little research in here, and I found a plan from the mid 80s, and the ponds were actually created with the intention of making that parcel into some kind of outdoor recreational club. And it was actually, I saw plans for all those ponds, and they were actually going to be swimming, fishing ponds. And there was a plan to put cabanas there. There was a plan to put outdoor volleyball courts, some other recreation facilities there, and have it be a club essentially. So it was never contaminated from the research I saw. It was just, designed that way for a plan and an idea, but it never came to fruition.
Did that plan suggest who actually dug the ponds?
Yes, it did have someone's name on it, and Deb actually remembered who it was. I can't recall the name, but if you're interested, I could scan that plan and send it to you guys.
Well, with this, so it's more recent. It's not as though there was a gravel operation there, let's say 50 years ago, but rather in the 1980s, somebody began to thinking about it as a recreational area and actually dug those.
That's what I came up with, and I looked at the plans indicated before that there were no ponds there, so it did not look like there was any kind of quarry activity going on there prior to any time in the history, from what I saw.
Interesting.
One of the things that I'd like to put on the table is the information that Bruce just gave us. I wish we had some way of taking that information or a copy of that report and somehow attaching it to this so that it's a historical information that if anybody's looking up at the property, that would be available for them.
So Bruce, is that a report or was that word of mouth?
No, it wasn't. Well, part of it was word of mouth. What I described about the owner. I'm not sure if the owner's a report, but there's a file on it. There's a plan on file showing that proposal. So it's not word of mouth. It's a plan, and I could scan it, and you could maybe attach it to this plan or include it somehow if you think that would be relevant. But
All right, I'm not adverse to that. If you send me that scanned document, we can put it in as a historical reference. Under Part B, ownership and land use history, and then and have an addendum to have the document at the back. So I'm fine with that. I think trying to keep these things together for information is useful. I think that's part of what we're trying to do here.
yeah, it might actually spark, if somebody saw that on the stewardship management plan, it might kind of spark an idea to have this be something similar to that in the future. You never know. So.
You never know. All right, any other comments? So I'd be looking for a motion to approve as written with the addition of the historical reference of why the ponds were dug, I guess is the right phrase. And then for eventual publication on the web. Do I see an emotion for that?
I'll move that.
Kristen, do I have a second?
Second.
Any
Either one.
discussion? Any
Either one.
discussion? We all had discussion. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, another 4. All right, so that's 2. Lampier Road is the next one. Again, this is a repeat. Are there any comments, additions, et cetera, on that?
The only comment I have, Brian, is we had talked, when we talked about this before, I think maybe Bruce added some more information that there were 3 of the properties on the driest, highest part of the land. The town may still be interested in offering, this is up in the upper right corner of where all the blue dots are.
Yep.
That there were 3 properties in there, I think, that they may still consider as marketing for potential future houses.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're trying to do is push. It may come to pass that, that those get carved out or sold and we either fight or don't fight. But these are stewardship proposals and plans from us. So I got no problem, even understanding that, I got no problems including them. It allows us to kind of keep our eye on the ball that says if that pops up, or as we go through, and I guess I could talk about some information back from Bert on doing legal protection for all the parcels we've identified, that'll kind of force the issue. So I'm fine with that, the way that is, assuming that there's going to be some fight, not just in this plan, but probably a number of the other plans. We might have some fights on our hands. So nothing wrong with a good debate. Other comments? Looking for a motion to approve as submitted?
I think we already had it. We already have it, don't we?
It was.
Or is that the last one? Oh, maybe, no. Yeah, it was the last one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the last
I'll-
one was, right.
I'll move.
Okay. Second,
I'll second it.
all right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so Lamfair Road approved with no changes, and the other 2, I'll do it. So when I get all that in, I'll push them out to the web. So Bruce owes me something, Bray owes me something, and then I'll push for publication. Or push, yeah, get it out on the web on publication. Oh, let's see what made it into here on the web thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks better, Larry.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to chide Mr. Olson on, I just assume he does everything so well, but I didn't even check it. So this is the one that made it in the agenda. And this looks a lot better. So we did Boulder Heights, we did Lampier, we didn't do No Ink Ledyard yet. We did South Road, and that's on hold. All right, so No Ink Ledyard is, did that even? Because I have that, hold on. All right, you're still seeing that, right? So,
Yes.
yep, so on my agenda, I gotta bring up my agenda over here, another window.
Yeah, that was not in the agenda, doesn't look like.
Yeah, no, there's a this one isn't a draft yet because the town doesn't own it.
Oh, okay.
So this was, the reason I had it on the agenda was just to give you kind of an update. So the funding has been committed, but not all there. So GOSA committed $210,000, to kick in. They have that in their reserves, so that's kind of covered, although they're still doing fundraising and going for a grant, for, I think about 100K, which would go then into stewardship and other things. The town requested through GCA to see if they can help the town with another 50,000 with donations independent of GOSA. And they have the GCA has informed me they have 20,000 to date. against that goal. So if this is going, it's moving forward. So I think we're in pretty good shape. I mean, the town made the commitment, by the way. This was more of a request, can the community help out? So regardless, this looks like, what do you think, Bruce? By no later than second quarter next year?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I'm not too familiar with those financials you just mentioned, so I think a lot of it has to do with that. But in terms of, the legal process and the surveying, I think the surveyor is out there now and, well, not now, but I mean, currently this week and this month, and we'll complete it soon. So, I mean, we're moving along. So from that point of view, I don't see that legal downside of anything taking more than, 2 or 3 more months here.
Yeah, so late first quarter, early second quarter. I mean, that's kind of, it's just the state worked really slow. I didn't see any impediments to it. And I just want to give you guys an update that says there's money kind of swirling around to support that. So at the right time, which means once there's legal ownership to the town, then this draft will come back to the commission, to vote on. So is that been made available, Bruce, this draft? I'm trying to remember.
We have not yet put this draft on the website, or what?
No, it's not going to the website because we don't own it yet. So that we haven't formally presented it to the commission. I'm just wondering, is the draft been communicated to the commission members so they can kind of have some time to peruse it?
Not to my knowledge,
Okay.
we could.
All right, well, here's the other thing, guys. The other thing is that there's a shared stewardship between GOSA and the town on this one. So what I think we ought to do is, as we're working through the legal process, is that we look at this and say, this is our view. Then we would formally communicate it to GOSA because they have to sign up, or they may want to make some changes or modifications, et cetera. And also the town and GOSA have to kind of negotiate who does what to whom in this whole thing. So this one's going to be different. If the town, wants to cede total stewardship to GOSA on it, then we provide our input, and then it's no longer a formal CC proposed stewardship plan. If it, kind of my perspective. So I would ask that we distribute this, Bruce, and with the understanding that we cannot approve this until 2 things happen. One is physical ownership, actual ownership converts to the town, and number 2, GOSA is agreed to the stewardship plan. So if you notice that we changed the verbiage on the page here, in partnership with Groton Open Space. Right, so that's the reason that's there. So I'd like to do this on the back end, since it's not a formal commission one, and we can't because it's not legally ours. Is if you have any comment, Bruce, if you could send it out as homework, and if anyone, within the next whatever, I'd like to do this before the holidays. Be nice. I'd
Good
like
luck,
to.
huh?
Yeah, I know. That you get any comments so that I can, package something to GOSA and get their take on it. We're gonna have to go through a number of iterations on this one. So I think we'll start with Bruce. Can you, send this to the commission members with the ask that says, for your review, and we want to approve this for release to GOSA at our next meeting. I think that's the tack I'd like to take.
Larry,
Yep.
I have a question for Bruce.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned that the town is in the process of surveying the property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there, during that surveying of the property boundaries, any way that it can be flagged in such a way that if the public, if, let's say, the Conservation Commission or GOSA goes out for a walk on the property, that you can actually find the boundaries?
Uh,
So in other words, for instance, GOSA and I know Avalonia marks its boundaries. They put little
Yep.
signs on trees along the edge of the boundary, not right on the boundary necessarily, but so if you're walking the property and you're wondering, are you still on the property or not? Every so often there's some sort of a mark. And for instance, if it's just if in their surveying, there's a drill hole on a stone wall somewhere, that's really tough to find, unless you're a surveyor or know it's there. For just to walk out and say, oh, if you got a long run of a stone wall, where the heck is that drill hole? And that's a boundary line. So is there some way that in this, they can flag it in such a way that it could be then available to post that, just to know where the boundary is?
I can certainly look into it. Yeah, I mean, it might be a contract change. I'm not sure. I don't think we asked for that, but I could look at the contract. I mean, typically when a surveyor goes out there, it's usually, like you mentioned, a drill hole in a stone wall, or they'll put a monument in where needed. But I mean, if monuments exist, they don't always put new ones in, and it's certainly
Yeah.
not, in a
Well-
normal contract for them to mark, a tree every 100 feet along the,
No,
or
I would.
probably
I
longer
would-
than that,
yeah.
1,000
I
feet.
would- Yeah, well, in my old surveying days, the town of Little Manic, just FYI, but we used to mark it with temporary markers, but that's different than what you're talking about is boundary markers when the property's ours. So I guess my ask would be, the surveyor should be putting in even, temporary stakes in the ground with a flag on it. I mean, you gotta have site marks, in order to shoot your line. So I would expect that's there. I would not expect that there's any formal boundary marking once we own it. I think that's part of a stewardship plan. But if you would ask that, I think that's helpful, to Bray's point, that we can go out and kind of view it. You may have-
I'll ask both questions. Are
Yeah.
there temporary, identifiable markers, and can there be boundary markers put in by the
Yeah.
surveyor during the
Well, the
process?
surveyor is gonna say it's from here to there to here. I mean, he's gonna say specifically what the boundary is. And he's gonna do it from whatever that point is. He's got to identify what it is, or put a stake in the ground if it's not, if it's just in the middle of a plot of land. So they got to do that. Now, what we don't want to do is then pick it up, have them pick it all up when they leave. I think the point is to leave them there, right? I think that might be the ask. But yeah, so yeah, if you let that know, then after it's done, then we could, oh crap, we still can't actually go on the property without permission because it's technically still not town property. So I think we got a little bit of we have to get permission until such time as the deal has gone through. So we don't trespass, in effect, legally trespass. All right, so let's do that. You've got that question there. We'll get it out. I'll look for a release to GOSA. I did give them a heads up that we are going to be providing this for their formal response, and they were happy to get it. All right, moving right along. The next thing I had was feedback on the open space app. So I got your input from some of you. I inputted that to Noah. I got his response. And real quick, I guess the overall net is pretty much he agreed to address all the questions we had. So as new parcels are added, he'd add those in. He would be adding green belts and greenways as a layer. The color code for the maps is in the top right corner, so that's already there. There's a question of people finding it, I guess. He agreed to link to the stewardship plan. So if there's a parcel there, link to the stewardship plans that we have, right? That's just a pointer. He's agreed on the percent bar graph stats. Got to figure out a way to do it, but he's agreed to do that. The significant digits, which was kind of one of my comments, he said, well, that's a function of the version of the software there. He's hoping that in the next release, you can actually change the significant digit. I think there's like 10 significant digits going out there. 3.055567892, anyway, minor item. He's willing to add to definitions, and this is one for us. He said he'll add any definition. He wanted us to give him what the definition we wanted to put in there. And given the fact that the spreadsheet that's in there is what we gave him, that's not necessarily an unfair question, right? So I think the to-do is definitions to Noah, and it's mainly from the data table. All right, next point is, base maps. There's base maps that are grayed out. Again, this is because it's the ESRI 4.x release. He says that doesn't work. He's hoping that they will fix that so that once the base system will allow those base maps to be available, that app will have them. I did tell him that this doesn't work in all browsers, doesn't work in Safari. You gotta use another browser. So I've been using Chrome as a workaround. So he's got that as a to-do, but we've got a workaround. This guy's found that. He also said that the deed system on the main GIS app has been totally overhauled over the last couple of weeks, and there should be a lot of improvements and corrections. Hopefully you'll get, when you link on a town-owned property and click on a deed, you'll be directed to one of two pages. The first page will say this deed has not been digitized, right? The second one, which may come up as orange. I don't know why that color, and it said that this deed is not available. Now we're back into, is it not available because it's an error in the database? Is it, it's so new, it hasn't been uploaded yet, etc. So I think, Bruce, you gave us an update on some of the parcels in terms of not just the deed availability, but the open space protection on those. Is that, are we farther along on that? Is there, let's call it a final, or at least some interim report from staff that says, yeah, we went through all that junk you gave us, and here was kind of our summary at the end, and which ones are and which ones aren't?
There is. There's a preliminary one. We're working on it. I do have a list of the properties here, kind of color coded. I sorted them, through, let me see, there's 5 categories we put them in. We put them in acquired through foreclosure or purchase, open space noted in the deed. So those are the ones that don't need any corrections. Accepted as open space, but deed needs a revision to reference the open space purpose. Fourth is we just don't know. We need more research, and there weren't too many of those. but, and the fifth is acquired for a purpose other than open space. So I have the list here. It's color coded. It's not ready for, it still needs a little work, but I should have it by the next meeting.
All right, so we can add it as a topic for the next meeting, which then we'll get into, actions we need to do to help kind of resolve the ones that aren't resolved, which was the whole point of doing this. I did get a note back from John Bird about this activity, basically saying it's going to take some time, right? And I wrote back, we know. I mean, it's not. This is going to be, over time, and we're doing this, and it helps everybody, but it's not going to be done overnight. So I'm just, my view is I'm looking for progress, and that's nice progress, Bruce. So thanks to you and the staff for doing that, and let's get it on the agenda for the January meeting. So January meeting agenda. All right. Any questions on the open space app? All right, moving right along. The next thing I had was, let me stop sharing there. I had the action, where'd you guys go? There you are. All right. I had here, there's kind of a view of remember this, Michelle? As you started
Oh,
this?
yeah.
Okay,
So we got a couple more to add to it now.
yeah, I was just saying would you take the to-do to kind of up to, because I gave you the last set that I updated and changed to you, so I think you got the latest. If you then can check off the 3 we just did approve.
Okay.
And then we could do that update.
So you didn't do anything to this since I sent it to you?
No, you sent one to me. I made some updates and sent it back to you.
Since the last meeting?
I'm trying to remember.
Because you sent it back to me and I added the ones after the next, not the last meeting, the meeting before.
Okay.
So I sent it to you then. Did you make any changes
No.
since then?
Nope, I only done the
So
one.
I can use the one I already have and add to that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Michelle, to update with the latest 3. All right, so, oops.
I
Is the
don't think
wind
I've had those-
howling where you guys are?
I'm sorry.
Is the
I'm
wind
way
howling?
outside.
Ooh,
Outside.
it's like there's stuff hitting my roof like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, it's definitely out there. So Larry, I have to add the ones we approved last. You didn't do anything since last month.
Correct.
Okay, then I'll add the ones from last month too,
Okay.
right?
I'm
So I gotta
looking-
add everything. Yeah, I'll check and make sure they're all in there.
Yeah, I'm looking through them all, and I'm.
Because I think I put in the ones that hadn't been approved yet. It said draft, so we need to
It
change
says,
those. to
right, the
approved.
Ds are in there, and we need to take the Ds off.
Right.
I don't think there was
Right.
any changes from last month on the actions. That was the
Okay.
month before, right? That's what I did the month before. So I think this is a matter, hopefully, is taking all the Ds off.
Yeah, because I think I
Other
put
than,
everything,
other than no ink ledger, because that one we can't yet. Yeah,
right.
Okay, all right.
Well, if that's all that needs to be done, can't you just do it?
Okay, somebody.
I mean, honestly, it's just going in there and erasing the Ds, right?
Okay, well, why don't you do that? I'm doing all these other things.
Well, yeah, because then if you did anything else to it, if I just use my version, you may have done something minor to clean something up, and then it won't be cleaned up because I'm using the one that I gave you rather than something that you looked at.
I have not done something from.
Okay, so you haven't done
Nope.
anything to the last one I gave you.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Okay, all right. We were gonna have a discussion on Birch Plain Creek as a result of the climate change process. We had discussion we had last month. And my intent was to say, is there really something that I kind of just called a regional stewardship plan that has several parcels that along that Birch Plain Creek corridor and include some of the city parcels. So that was going to be the discussion. I'm kind of thinking I'd like a full commission presence to do that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because well, there's several objectives here. One is, the old discussion that Bray started a while ago about the city's conservation commission. So to me, this gave us a mechanism to kind of take in some of the city parcels and Briar parcels and do it in a collaborative way. So that's one aspect. The other one is to take a more holistic view on the stewardship process for related parcels, which is a little different approach as well. I mean, we're not really huge parcels, I mean, for Groton. So that's a discussion I want to have. And I don't want to have that without as I said, without the full one. So I'm gonna put that'll be I guess today we're deferring the right tree for the right time workshop till next meeting, Bruce. When is I forget, when is that? That's obviously after the New Year's, but
Yeah, we have it
Second
on
Monday.
Yeah, we have it on January 10th.
okay, that's
Good.
fine. Yeah, that's far enough past the holiday. Okay.
I wasn't coming on January 3rd.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just thinking in my head. I said, well, that shouldn't be. All right. So that's that. So that one will defer it from this meeting. I'm checking the time here. So we're closing in on 6. The next item was 300 Briar Hill Road. You recall that was a small property that the owners were basically tendering an offer to purchase. So GOSA and the Conservation Commission walked the property with the owners. Very nice folks. Try and do the right thing. And it was Tom and myself, and there was like 4 GOSA folks. Afterwards, we kind of gathered and talked and said, gee, it's a nice little property, has some interesting features to it, but, oops, did you lose me? Okay,
No,
all right, my screen went.
we saw
dark.
you go dark. That was all.
Yeah. So the consensus amongst us was that, it's a nice little property, had some positive attributes, but GOSA did not feel that it met their criteria, that it would be on their list for acquisition. I kind of shared that. I thought it would be a really tough sell because it's an expensive piece of property for what it is, to even broach it with the town. So, so basically it's interesting, but I am not bringing to you any proposal or support for pursuing that or pursuing something for the town. So and it's private property, so you can't just go out there and kind of walk it. So because you got to walk through their yard to get there, basically. Right? So that's that. Thames River Basin update. Kristen, that was deferred from last week. I mean, the Pollinator update, did you have?
There was supposed to be a meeting, but I don't know what happened, but they ended up canceling the meeting. So I haven't heard anything from anybody since then.
Oh, okay. I guess
That was a month and a half ago, I think.
So that's moving right along.
Yeah.
Moving right along. All right. Well, what is moving right along? Let me bring this up. Section 7. Where did section 7 go? Come on. I had it up. I tested this beforehand. I didn't. Huh. Darn. Oh, it's on my other screen. I have another screen behind the first screen. So, and that's not the right one either. Darn. All right, let me go find it. All my techniques of trying to make this easy to do, and then it didn't, and it didn't work. I could have sworn I just did that. Section 7 would be under open space plan. So where did section 7 go? I did publish the last one and it's out there. And this was going to, oh, I hate that. All right, well, I'm not seeing it right away.
When you say published, do you mean that you put it on the town, the conservation website?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know. All right, I don't want to take the time. We only have a half an hour here. But suffice it to say, is what I said last time, is I did rework it to then take the intermediate ones to put it in there. I did ask for your guys' input. I did get some input back, and that's what I was going to share. So I guess I didn't do that very well. So I will have to go find that and share that next time. On the Greenway status, let's see if that pops up correctly. Oh my Lord. All right, here we go.
That the nomination of Greenway that Tom gave us?
Yeah, so that, though, did that make it in the agenda, Bruce? Because I know there was like an update to
Something
that.
made it in the nomination for official designation of Greenway. It's the last thing on the agenda.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, so those are in there. This is, these things, again, the state works very slowly. So this is going to take a while to chew through. And we're talking a number of months. So there's two in there, as you'll see. One was the Tri-Town Greenway, and the other one was the Groton Crosstown Greenway. So that's been submitted. Tom did the work on that. And I guess we're waiting for Parks and Recs to do their thing. And we're supporting them on that. So that's pretty much, oh, let's see, what else did I have?
Can I make a comment on?
Yeah.
I went to the Tri-Town meeting last week
Yep.
with Bruce. And Bruce can support, I think, what I'm about to say. The Tri-Town Task Force voted to support the nomination of both Greenway plans. So that was a necessary part for the Park Rec Department to move ahead.
All right.
Yay.
Yay. All right. While we're talking about information, is that the Rain Garden, you'll like this, Kristen, the Rain Garden Pollinator Pathway Grant application to the LISFF, and I forget what the hell that stands for.
Long Island Sound.
And
something.
Futures Fund.
Yeah, that's it. Futures Fund.
Futures Fund, yeah, $137,000 starting in February, going over 18 months with about $90,000 of volunteer hours. So the objective, from what I was told, is to have, riparian buffers in 20 gardens along the Tri-Town Trail and Crosstown Greenways.
Wow.
So that's I was kind of impressed with that. So we'll have to track and see how that goes. And certainly, it kind of matches to what we just talked about. But it looks like there'll be some funding to get a little improvements in the ecology there.
When they say 90 something, you said how many volunteer hours? Like, are they paying for plants for volunteers to plant, or what does that really mean?
I'm not.
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
think it means that's how many hours they're the town is promising,
Hmm.
that they're saying they will provide 90, however many hours of volunteer time. That's
Yeah,
a
I don't-
promise
yeah,
for
Yeah, I
a
don't think,
payment in
it-
kind.
yeah,
thing.
payment, I don't think it's money, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's the town promising they will have volunteers commit that many hours to the project. Is my
So-
understanding of that.
Do they
Yeah.
use town staff for that, or they're just gonna try and,
No,
will they
no, that's-
publicize it? Like, how will people know?
Well, I
to
think
help?
that doing like they go reach out to GCA or GOSA.
Right.
or, all those lists of conservation groups that are on our website.
Right,
And, they reach out and ask for support, or the schools, right? So I
Mhm.
think that's kind of how that goes.
Larry,
Um,
who did you say the recipient of that grant was? Yeah, I don't believe it's the town.
It's ECCD's Rain Garden and Pollinator Pathway Grant Application.
Yeah, so that's not the town. It's
Not
the
town
Who's
per se, yeah.
ECCD?
It's the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District.
Okay,
But while we're talking about Long Island Sound Futures Fund, the town received its own grant from Long Island Sound Futures Fund. We received 90,000. It was just announced today. We received $90,000 to do a sustainability and resilience plan for downtown Mystic.
oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're not sure if we're going to do that in combination of the climate action plan we're doing next year, or if they're going to be two separate things. But yeah, we just received that, and we're going to be putting the RFP out pretty soon here to that process in downtown.
All right,
Nice.
that's good. Things
how
are,
could it possibly be separate? I mean, it's one climate resiliency, it's like one plan. You're gonna have one group make one plan, and a different group make a different plan. That makes no sense at all. It has to be together, seems like.
Yeah, I mean, we're considering both. Yeah.
Hmm.
It certainly could be, or it could be an appendix, or, I mean, the town is a lot larger than just Mystic. So we kind of need to see.
Right. Mhm.
well, I
And now we
think,
also need to see how the
yeah.
grant was written too. So
I think part of the problem is, this is kind of that there's going to be so many different plans, proposals, and funding coming down the pike. All the different towns around here is one of the purposes of the sustainability manager is to figure out how these things should link together and how to make it work. So, I mean, the good news is there's stuff happening, right? Keeping it aligned is going to be a chore. And how that affects, I'm not sure. Most of our stuff is not on the shoreline, in terms of which is where the resiliency is. Most of our stuff is inland. So we do need to have a discussion on what was our role in that aspect, of sustainability versus what we, historically what we've done is basically open space. So I think that's something we need to think about next year in terms of goals and objectives. And like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, but there's a lot of funding coming with it. So do we have to, as volunteers, do something, or do we volunteer to be reviewers of things, that kind of stuff? So, you might think about what our role is. I just gave myself another agenda item. So the role of the Conservation Commission, I mean, we supported the position, role of the Conservation Commission on sustainability writ large. All right. All right. And that'll be as a question mark to me is it's really a 22 plus the next 50 years. This is what that's going to be. Okay. I did update the web pages. If you go out there, you'll see.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
Greg?
I'm sorry. From the Trails Force Task Force meeting, there's a couple of other things that came out from it that I would like to share with the commission, if I may.
All right.
There was at the Trail Force Task meeting, the mayor of the city of Groton made several presentations about future trail linkages in the city with the town. And he produced a map that looks something, I don't know if anybody can see it, but it looks something like this. And his proposal from his group is to start with Thomas Road down where Sparkle Lake property the town had recently purchased, and knows that we've talked about a linkage on the east side of Birch Plain Creek that runs through the town properties up to the Quantic Road. He's now proposing putting a trail system on the other side of Birch Plain Creek, starting from there on Thomas Road. There is a little bridge that you drive across, and it's a favorite spot in the summer for people that are blue crabbing, usually a parking for one car or something like that. And just beyond that, the city has a small park that you can park in with a trail system that goes behind Branford Manor. And he's talking about that as a starting point to cross over several pieces of property to the town-owned property where the school is, where the it had been West Side, and it's now West Side Middle School. It's now the Thames River Magnet School, but it's town-owned, and using the back of that property, anyways, connecting from the Thomas Road area to Washington Park. And this is an offshoot from Tom's good work, where he was trying to include the city, trying to make some linkages as we would loop down through the southern part of the town and up the west side, up to the Gold Star Bridge, to the footbridge that goes across the bridge. And this is a proposal that the mayor has come forth with. There are several sections of it in which are private property, and they've apparently starting to talk with the owners of that properties to see if there's any interest in on the backside of it having some sort of an easement for a trail system through there. So I guess my footnote to that is that when Tom initiated a discussion about their conservation commission joining with our conservation commission, and it appears that the mayor didn't want to move ahead with that idea, but yet at the task force meeting, in his short presentation to the meeting, he was the conservation commission for the city of Groton. He was talking about all sorts of things, that the kinds of things that we would have, or that we do, that we don't hear coming out of the City of Groton Conservation Commission. So I think he's taking on the lead on this, which is great to see. And just a last footnote, and if Bruce may have more of a comment to it, but there was also a brief discussion about the Tri-Town trail system that runs from Preston through Ledger down to Bluff Point. And the mayor had indicated somewhere along the line through the to the Parks and Rec Town of Groton Parks and Rec Director, I'm sorry, to one of the Tri-Town folks, that there's possibility of new discussions on the watershed lands, the town utility lands, of possibly having them open up for a trail system through there, since that's one of the huge parts and critical parts of that whole Tri-Town trail system that is not really gone anywhere. Because the city utilities didn't have an interest in helping us out. He apparently is cracked open the door a little bit on this, which is great news to hear. So we'll have to see, watch in the future how that all comes together in the future. So what we might do is there is a map that I just showed you that came out of the task force meeting that was submitted by the mayor of the city of Groton that was sent to the task force members. Perhaps we can get this submitted to the Conservation Commission, maybe for a future discussion in future meeting somewhere about what his concepts are, because his new proposed trail system does cross through town-owned property in the city. And so he would have to go before the town, even though it's in the city, to get permission to do that. And I'm sure he would look for support from, let's say, perhaps our organization to encourage that. So I'll put that on the table. Thank you.
All right. Can you get that trail map to Bruce so that he can distribute it to the rest of us?
Right. Bruce, did you get it from the Parks and Rec director?
Yeah, I did actually. I can distribute that. I got an email too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And you might label, there's no label for the different color lines that are on there. I don't know if you can add that when you distribute it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Red, blue, and green, and each has a separate meaning.
Yeah, so I'll add a legend to it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Well, I'm now in the report of chair. I talked about the web pages updated. We did, I guess, through asking the questions on foreclosure with the tax assessor's office, they kind of came back and said, oh, yeah, no, yeah, we now understand the land disposition process through that Bruce presented from staff a while ago. They kind of weren't aware of that, I guess. They now are, right? So that exercise actually helped. So that they weren't going out doing whatever they were going to do by themselves without going through staff on this side. The other thing I was going to bring up is kind of, if you read through our objectives as the Conservation Commissions, that we're obligated to do an annual report. I'm not sure we've ever done one. And I wanted to throw it out for discussion in terms of, do we want to do an annual report to the town council? Whoop, I hear Kristen saying no.
I think the work we've done kind of speaks for itself. I mean, just all those massive stewardship plans. I mean, that alone is, kind of summarizes what's going on this year.
Well, remember, we've got a new makeup of the town council.
Right.
So my thought was, yeah, really, I didn't want more stuff to do. But, as an introduction to the new town council, is it worthwhile? Short, I'm thinking short, not this big,
That's a good idea. If somebody wants to do it, it's an excellent idea.
You can almost take the minutes and just extract the stuff from the minutes to put together in one document. Here's what we did, and a little bit of an explanation for each thing.
Very quick, but I think it's a really good idea to get a little FaceTime with the new crew that's in there. So we are recognized and acknowledged and listened to. So that's probably a very good idea, Larry.
Larry, I have a question for Bray, actually.
Yep.
Do you know how, did we ever, as Conservation Commission, did you ever do an annual report in the past, or would this be the first time since you've been on the commission?
This would be the first time,
Okay.
And even though Larry somewhere read about this, no one ever followed up to say, where is your report?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what-
so I kind of agree with what the other folks were saying, that it's a short summary would be good for FaceTime, just to say that we're there. But I don't think we have to do anything in depth, because I'm not sure they would read it.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Bray. I wasn't thinking the big thing. I was just more of a, hey, guys, we're here. Here's what we did. You know, you bunch of new photos, like half, no, I don't know, maybe at least a third are new members, right? So anyway, okay, so I hear yes, Kristen?
I was gonna say, I think it's a decent idea, but we do tend to weigh in when there's an issue that we feel that's important. So they're gonna figure out who we are, along the way too.
Well, you gotta, I guess it's build up some political capital, if you will, I think, is all I'm talking about, is new folks says, why do you want to talk to us? Well, we've done these things to support the town, and we support the town council. So anyway, so I was thinking that maybe a couple of us could, as a subcommittee, spend a few minutes on it. Do I have any volunteers?
Tom and Larry.
No, that's not, you don't volunteer others, Kristen. You're supposed to volunteer yourself. So,
Just honestly, Tom has done the bulk of everything that's been done this year. There's really been a lot of Tom's work.
Yeah.
So if anyone was going to stand in front of the town council, it just seems like it would be him on this issue, on this year. That's just, we could ask him if he wants to volunteer.
he's not here.
Well, I know, but we could reach out and ask him later.
So I take
It doesn't have to be in January. The other thing is,
no,
I'm
I
actually,
didn't say January. No, it's first quarter. To me, it's the first
Yeah.
quarter of the thing. Yeah. So I'm any volunteers? Then since Kristen kind of ran away, so there's still Michelle and Ray out there.
Yeah, if I didn't have 2 courses of finals to grade, another course to prepare, I might think of volunteering, but this is not a good season for me to be volunteering to add anything to my plate. Sorry.
That leaves Bray.
I'm not retired. Totally.
I'm not retired either.
why don't we put it off and just, really before somebody, because I honestly, I'm not trying to dodge it. I just think Tom's the best person because he did so much of the work. It just seems like he should kind of stand there and also be recognized for all that work that he did the bulk of, so I'm not trying to be a jerk, but maybe we should check with him first before we give it to somebody else.
I was planning.
I
on doing
agree.
that, Kristen.
You're planning on what, doing it
I
yourself?
was planning on doing that, but I just thought it
Well,
might.
you as the chairman or Tom as, the other person.
Yes, well, we also have a vice chair and a secretary. A full officer suite.
Yeah.
All right, my last item was there are 4 members whose term was going to expire 12/31, which is this month. Myself, I submitted application form and got it extended. Karen Scapino, Michelle, and Ann.
So what do we have to do?
I sent you a note.
You did?
Yeah. I sent you a note that says, here's a form to fill out if you're interested in continuing into next year.
Well, I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean anything. Let me see.
I will double check to make sure it left my box.
Expiring terms, I see it.
Aha. All right.
Okay. I'll take care of it.
All right. So again, this is a volunteer organization, and I'm just saying, if you want to, there's the form. If you don't want to, give me a call, let me know.
No, I want to. Assuming that
Okay.
you want me back, I'll put it in.
We have to have Michelle.
All right, and I guess Karen and Ann aren't here, so I can't get a verbal. But I haven't seen something back. I did say in there, hey, get it back to me and I'll facilitate getting it through the process, but so that's kind of what I wanted to do. Okay, report of staff.
For me, let me see, I was gonna report on the Long Island Sounds Futures Fund that we just got, but I already mentioned that. What else are we doing for sustainability? We just received last week, we became recertified by Sustainable Connecticut as a bronze community. So,
Good.
that's
Just
that
wait
lasts
a
another
minute,
3 years.
Just bronze? I thought we were going for silver.
Yeah, well, we were, but we're still working towards silver, but we didn't get it this round, but next year.
Okay.
I will say most of the towns that have silver are like, I mean, Greenwich got silver, but they have an entire conservation department. So I think we're doing pretty well in Groton for what we have. So, but we're
Bruce,
working
we
towards
have
it.
you.
I know. Well, yeah, we are
That's
doing
silver
quarterly.
right there.
Yeah.
That's
It's
silver.
gold.
That's better than Greenwich. Come on.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
well, we're working towards it. We have quarterly meetings now, so we have a sustainability team. We've actually found it really helpful to come together. We're all from different departments, and we kind of discuss everything we're working on, and kind of keeps us motivated and understand what items apply to sustainable CT. So we'll get there.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's all I have this month.
All right. Well, Michelle, you gave me objective of 6:30.
Did it?
Yes, Kristen.
Well, I had something that I had sent out, two things, actually. One is that GCA has arranged to meet with David Aldrich from SCARA
Oh, yep.
on Wednesday night. And I sent that to you in a very rough draft form, Larry, the formal invitation, then I resent it. But the point of the meeting was to have a very small, sort of intimate meeting with him, because they've done a industrial composting program, a pilot like in Stonington. And I think GCA wanted to decide whether or not they wanted to get on board with it and get behind it. But it was designed to be very, very small so that we could really ask questions and really get into some depth with him. That's this Wednesday, I believe, at 5 o'clock. And so it really was originally just for the GCA and the Conservation Commission. But meanwhile, they felt they had to invite the town council, but it's not an official town council meeting. So who knows who's going to show up? I'm going to be there. And I just thought, this is an opportunity to kind of see what that's all about, if people are interested in that.
Yeah. No, I've had several meetings with or discussions with him on this topic. So be interesting to see the results of the pilot programs that they were running. Yeah, Bray?
The meeting is going to be at the Groton Public Library,
At the library.
at the library in room 1 and 2.
1 and
something
2.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a public meeting, but it was not heavily advertised or promoted for the purpose of keeping it intimate. So there could be some conversation in depth if possible.
All right.
Okay, that's A. And then B is, I'm also working with GCA on this fundraising initiative, soliciting donations for the Wolfbrook property. I myself have donated. And if anybody feels like inspired, like they want to contribute to that property, just, give me a little shout out and I'll connect you with papers and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, well, I've already got a call from
Eugenia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sicked her on you. I'm like, call Larry.
Yeah, she called me, so I said I'll. In fact, it's on my calendar to call her this week. So.
Okay. Well, this
Right.
is a nudge, but you could call me too. I'll handle it either way. So.
Yeah, no, my question actually was, is GCA registered as a not-for-profit organization?
GCA is not the right kind of charity, but the actual donation that you make goes to something like the Groton Town Parks. I have it all in writing. It's a different organization you write the check to. So if you do itemized deductions, it does come off as a charitable contribution.
No,
So-
it's more for withdrawing from a 401k.
Yeah, there-
And avoid.
Yeah, I think GCA is a 501(c) or whatever it is, but it's not the right, but the other one probably is. So,
I'll ask her. That was one of my questions.
okay, I'm meeting with her at 9:30 in the morning. It's about something else, so I'll let her know you're coming.
Oh, I'm sure she'll call me regardless of if I did anything or not. Okay, that's, anyone else had anything else other than?
Move we adjourn.
Wait a minute. To wish everyone, happy holidays, happy new year, because we're not gonna, till January 10th. And whatever
See you next
homework
year.
you can get to that Bruce is gonna send you. So
Second.
there's a motion to adjourn. There's a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? I guess not. All in favor of adjourning? All right, that is unanimous. And
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yep.
2021
holidays.
is now closed
All right, I hope we're together in 2022 in person in the same room.
in person. I do hope
Yes.
the January meeting will be in person. So let's.
I won't be in
assume
town in
that.
January, so if I'm there, it's gotta be remote.
All right,
All right.
well,
Sorry.
All right.
okay.
Happy holidays, everyone. Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye.